there, everyone. We are going to investigate indirect painting today. We started with these little exercises, which were direct painting, when we used and combined all of our mediums. Last week we talked a little bit about it, but I'm going to review it here. And it's the idea that your linseed oil is the material that is inside your oil paint, and that it is our fat, literally an oil, and that it has to be on the top, otherwise it can't, it has to be on the top so it can dry. So if I were to put my thinner, thin over thick, like this, it would not work, because this would dry fast, and then this would say, I've got to get out of there, and it would crack the surface. So you have to do thick over thin or fat over lean. That's the order that it has to go. So today we will not use the linseed oil. We'll use it after our surface dries, and then we'll glaze our painting with it later. So today we can start with the Terp Natural, and then in this case, these solvent-free gels and fluids are also thin. So everything but the oil is our thin, and it can go down below because it dries so fast. So we started with this direct painting. We used all of them, and it didn't really matter the order because they're all mixed together. We did this to practice tints, tones, and shades for our color. Also direct, using all of these different mediums. But this is what we're going to try and do today. And this actually has 2 layers on it, where it's just the black paint, and then after it dries, the grayscale and the whites go on top. So we'll get to that in the next video. Then we'll glaze it. So this black and white coloring book, if you will, allowed this one to build the next layer on top. So you can see where the black and white once was underneath, and then the color, literally just like a coloring book, painted the painting again on top of it. So we'll get into that. Here's another example. This has the black and the white, but we would imagine that then it would be glazed and turned into color. And then we'll move into this, which is the direct painting, where it happened all at once. So we'll make one that's indirect and one that's direct, but I'll kind of walk you through it. Okay, so I want you to pick something that is fairly simple, but if you wanted to pick something a little more complex and set up a more challenging still life, you can. I'll put some photos on the course shell so you can download those and use them if you would like. But when you do it, I want you to think about scale, composition, all the things you would in a 2D design class or a drawing class. And I printed these twice, and I was thinking, you know, how would it look if it was larger, up higher, down low, if it was horizontal. But I think I like this smaller one, and I think I'm going to do it kind of low and then repeat this kind of pretty pattern up through here, so it feels like there's some pressure coming down on the space. So just think about how you're going to lay it out before you get started. We're going to do this on our canvas paper just so that we kind of are building some confidence. If you want to do it on nicer paper or nicer surface, you can. But just to exercise. I think you'll be happy with how this painting turns out, though. Okay, so I want you to make a coloring book for this. I don't want you to have to worry about proportions or any of the drawing, so that you can really focus on the paint. We can worry about proportions and such later. So I'm going to take my Vine charcoal from my drawing classes, and I'm going to coat the back of my paper. You know what? This charcoal is too hard. I'm going to get one that's a little softer because it's not picking up enough. So if I'm switching, you're going to see this is darker. Yeah, there we go. If you don't have Vine charcoal, you can probably make a trace and transfer by putting it on your window and doing it like a light table. Or you can freehand it, but again, I just don't want you to get into having some drawing problems to make you not believe in the process. Okay, I shook off some of the extra charcoal dust there, but you can totally draw this by yourself. Yeah, I think I want it down low, and I'll have those shadows go right off the page, and I can fake that there. So I'll tack it down lightly. Notice that I, with my picture, I really fussed the contrast in my editing software. I just did it on my phone. I turned it into an achromatic black and white scale, and I really tried to fight to get good shadows and good light source and so forth. So I'm gonna make one mark. Yeah, and make sure it's picking up. I'm going to be really careful to try to trace this apple in a way that shows its bumps and irregularities. So I'm starting with the outline, but I'm going to move into the form, and I'm going to say here is a really pretty bounce light, a reflective light. Goes all the way up here. There's a darker here. And I'm starting to think in value shifts. So I could call this, I'm going to call it 0. Call this a 30, 40 maybe. Here's like a 50. If your subject is too flat, you may have to redocument. That's really dark. I'm going to call that a 90. Here's a nice shift. So this is what's kind of fun about doing the trace and transfer, is it's literally giving you all the visual information you need, like a really elaborate coloring book, but it is allowing you then to really just play with the paint at this point to see that you can build some confidence with it, and then you can put back in your drawing skills. So I'm breaking down these values. I'm squinting my eyes if I need to. I'm not really thinking about this as an apple. I'm just trusting the shapes that I'm drawing. There's like another round of dark here. Okay, I think that's pretty good for the apple. I'll pick it up and see. I'm going to extend this off there so I know where it is. I'm going to put a couple little darks information, just a little, and I'm going to say this is a 1070. There's a great shadow. Look at all that complexity in there. Darker through here. It's these value shifts that really make it come to life when you paint it. Yeah. So I basically have made myself a paint by number. Get a little information here. Yeah. Okay. Pull this off. I'm going to put something behind it. Another piece I was working on. Okay, here we go. So what I want you to do with this, I'll stop talking after a minute and just do a time lapse after this so you don't have to listen to me through it, but I'm going to just use ivory black. I'm going to put my linseed oil away, and I'm going to use my turp, my solvent-free fluid, and my solvent-free gel. no white at this point, and I'm really treating this like it's a, there's my chocolate chip. Maybe it's a hefty chocolate chip. I'm treating it like it's a charcoal drawing where I can't have the grayscale to make it confusing, and I can only build with the dark of this and how thick or how thin it is, and that's going to help you learn about the consistency of what these do, and how far you can push it, and just that review of value. If we were in a drawing class, what I would say with charcoal is I would say it's always important to start with the most boring information, your negative space, your darks, because you only have dark pigment, and leave your lights and your details for the end so they can sit up. So I'm going to do all of this first, setting the value scale and the tone for the picture plane. So since these aren't toxic, I'm going to open these up and use these. Oops. Sticky. Yuck. Make sure I have enough from the other day. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use a big synthetic flat. And I'm going to start with the, put these so you can see these. I'm going to use some of the solvent-free fluid because it dries really fast. I'm going to charge my brush a little bit of that red that was in there the other day. Load my brush on both sides. Sticky. Here's my natural. Oops, if you wanted to tape this to a board, you could. Probably should have. I was just excited to paint. So a little bit of paint is going quite a long way, and it's like an India ink wash or like a Vine charcoal drawing. I can smell that citrusy scent of the Terp Natural. Next time after this dries, then I'll mix up my grayscale and paint the whole painting over again. So once I finish this negative space, if you want to just scrub through it, you can. I know I said I was gonna do the time lapse, but I can keep talking through it if people want to hear the commentary. Some people said it was okay to hear what was going on, but you can scrub through it after this point. Okay, so I like how kind of modeled that space is, and I'm not really looking at my picture yet to get information. Notice how I'm cutting that straight line by dragging the flat. Something, I thought this looked funny even in the picture. Drop that down. So now I might look and see, yeah, I had it darker over here. But it looks kind of smoky. If you wanted to make it a lot thicker, you could try adding some more. If it got too dark, you can take your rag and you can wipe it back off. I think I want it to be maybe a little darker, a little thicker. Kind of show those brush strokes. But you can make an ombre with just the black paint. You know, last week we did it with the black and white, but you can do it just like you would with charcoal by how thick or how thin or how much pressure. And I think I talked about this last week, but this idea of like, you want to act like you're layering the paint without squishing what's underneath. And that's kind of how it can build. There's a little hair in there. Yuck. I got it. Okay, I want to switch brushes and move to something smaller. Again, I don't have white paint, so I'm going to kind of leave the areas that are the highlights to do next time after it draws. So I did the negative, and I kind of want to keep working up in such a way that it's areas that don't matter, things that I don't care about. So I'm going to think about how I can activate the table and work my way up to the shadow, and then do the apple last. So I think I might do, let's pull a little pigment out of that. And I just want to at least tint the table. I think I might take my towel and wipe some of it out, or a different clean dry brush, because I know that's pretty white, but it's not solid white, and I just want to at least get some pigment on the paper, the canvas pad, and then I can put white paint over it next time when it dries. I'm going to just wipe it down just a little. Where's the edge of that table? There it goes. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Perfect. I'm going to work into my shadows. I really like my bigger brushes. I might have to switch in a second, but I think I can make it work with the big one. And because I drew it out like a coloring book, I'm not thinking so hard. I'm just kind of building. I'm going to thin my paint so that I get that next shift. Value. Shift it out again. Get a little darker. I'm excited to paint the apple, but I'm glad I'm waiting till the end. It's a little too dark. Pull some of that paint out on the palette, add a little thinner again. That darker. I'm going to up my darks all the way around on the shadow. So here I am layering up again. I want it to be a little more dramatic. So I'm going to make them a little darker. Knowing I'm going to paint back over this when it dries with the white. I think that's okay for now. Now I am going to switch to the smaller brush, and I am going to still start with my darks so I can leave my lights behind. So I marked that with that number there. And I'll add a little thinner. And I'm just kind of trusting which one feels like it's the right viscosity. Like if I feel like it gets too slippery, then I'll shift to using the Turpenoid Natural. If I need to make it move a little more, I might use the fluid. I haven't really used the gel yet. I might switch to use that just so I can test it. This is that dark. And it'll be fun to repaint this once I have a grayscale mixed up with the white. Oh, it's been a little while since I've used this. So I gotta break off the skin. There we go. I'm looking at my Apple photo. Okay, so I feel like I actually have enough pigment, and I probably am just going to start to thin. I'm using the palette to clean off my brush more than the my towel, because I'm only using black. I'm going to wipe it off a little bit though. So I know this will be a lot whiter when I go in. I still just want a little pigment on there. So those, I've just established this will be my lightest area. So I'm going to mix up a little bit more of a gray. I'm trying to get the paint to go into the tooth of the canvas. And it's almost like a watercolor or like a Sumi ink drawing. I'm not afraid to show some of my brush strokes a little bit. This needs to be a little lighter here. Because it'll be hard for me to go in if I want to lighten any of the colors with my rag. Like I can go in, I have a clean brush, and I can pull up. So that was a dry, clean brush. I can pull up some of the pigment. I'm just really thinking value. If it helps to turn your paper upside down, so you're not thinking about an apple, you can. Again, I know I'm going to build this up once I build my value scale. This is just kind of my beginning. I'm gonna move this around with this clean brush. This is where you could maybe go in and pull out some lights if you needed to. But I don't really want to overwork it because I know this is just like my armature for when it dries, and I put the black and white and gray over it. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop for now, and then I know I can make all those lights brighter and brighter. I think I feel good about the negative space. Looks kind of dreamy. Show a couple brush strokes maybe. Like that. Okay, so we'll be back. I'm going to clean my brushes, let this dry, and then I'll be back and I'll show you how to do the grayscale with the white and the black on top of it. And then it'll dry again, and we'll put the color glaze over it, and we will make a direct painting of one of these in a really quick, like 20-minute, all at once kind of approach. Okay, we'll see you soon.